Immaculate Immortality provides a comprehensive exploration of the intricate and multifaceted aspects of the dark feminine. Each chapter delves into a specific archetype, including Chaos, Nyx, Hecate, Persephone, Lilith, and many more, shedding light on their unique traits and significance. Within each chapter, readers will find channeled epithets that capture the essence of the archetype, alongside a collection of prayers, chants, and poems crafted to honor and celebrate each one. In addition to these offerings, the book features a temple piece for every aspect of the dark feminine, creating a rich and immersive experience for the reader. These temple pieces serve as a guide for reflection and ritual, inviting individuals to connect more deeply with the wisdom and power of the dark feminine.
I liked that intro. Spent a great deal of time on it, so kind of excited about it. I might show the beginning of it later on, because the very first part, I don't know if anyone is going to catch it, but I did all the voiceovers for, like, it was like the goddesses and the archetypes came to me in a dream, and that's what I was kind of trying to portray. So if we get like more viewers and stuff, then I might share that little bitty like 30-second clip of me dreaming these names and them calling out to me and stuff like that. So it should be fun. We'll wait around here for some more people to show up. I know it's kind of late tonight. I don't usually go live at night, but it's just the way the cookie crumbled this month for the launch of my book, out today on Hecate's Night. I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of the poetry. Most of it channeled. Most of it came right out of like my Book of Mirrors, and it was really fascinating to dive into all the archetypes that I did use, because there are so many aspects of the dark feminine that I don't use, that aren't in my practice. So I was really hesitant to use any that I don't use in my active practice, and so there were some that didn't make the cut just because I didn't know them well enough. But there are, let me see, I think there's 13 chapters in this. So there's 13, probably I think either 12 or 13, 12 actual archetypes, and then their very last chapter is just a few extra archetypes of the dark feminine that I work with, that had a poem associated with it, but didn't make it into, like, it wasn't one of the archetypes associated with like Lilith or the Kaliak or any of those. So yeah. So like, I think that there's 15 archetypes in the back of the book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18. There's 18 archetypes in the back of the book, and roughly about 15 for each of the other 12 faces of the dark feminine. So just 320-page book. Let me see. Let me tell y'all what the chapters are, and then I want to read some of them to you guys. Okay. So the content page looks like that. There's no page numbers because this is a poetry book, and I didn't I wanted it to be kind of an organic experience when like flipping through it, and you just kind of, oh, okay, now I'm on this, now I'm on that. And so I wanted it to be a little bit more organic than that in terms of like the book format. So there it is. I've got the very first one is Chaos, because she's one of my primordial goddesses that I work with in terms of the like a Greek pantheon. She's my primal and my primordial, and so is Tiamat. Tiamat being the Mesopotamian primordial dragon goddess, if you will. So I've got them two as my two front runners as my primordial goddesses. Then we dive into a little bit more popular ones. So I've got Nyx, which is like the starry sky. Okay, and I got Hecate, Ereshkigal, Persephone, Lilith, the Cailleach, Baba Yaga, Medusa, Medea, and the Morai, which are the like fates, and then the archetypes in the back. So good. I've got a little bit of information in the very front, like in terms of the introduction, just a little bit, like a few 3 or 4 pages of an introduction about what the book is, you know, what you're going to find here. But to be honest, this is not going to go into the myth or the stories or the legends or any of that with any of the faces of the dark feminine that I include, because I feel like that alone, that kind of what do you call it? That kind of practice, like looking them up, reading their stories and stuff, that's how you get to know the archetypes and stuff. So for me, I didn't want to include any of that. Plus, it's all kind of in terms of, you know, you never know if it's true in terms of history, and it could be a colloquialism. It could include all kinds of stuff in terms of like those kinds of stories. So I didn't include any myths. They're just, okay, if you're coming upon Nyx, there's 15 pages of poems and stuff that I include that go on how I've worked with them. And what's unique actually about this book is that when you start out with a goddess, okay, so it says chaos, right? So there you go, you know what it is. Then you flip the page, and you go right into the poetry. Each of the pages for each of the goddess and archetypes have what I want to call a channeled epithet. Okay. And you could say that they're the names of the poems, but they're not really, because all the epithets that I work with have this kind of this embodied feeling to them. So you, as someone that wanted to pick this up in terms of like dark feminine inspiration, might just want to work with the epithets, not necessarily the poetry. So like the very first one here for chaos is Virgin Chaos. That's that element, yet another kind of quintessence of the archetypes of the face. So Our Lady of the Abyss. I took some of the Mary, I guess you could call it prayers, and made prayers of my own for a lot of these because they're so poetically done that Our Lady of Immaculate Conception, stuff like that, those are like very specific prayers for very specific things. And I chose to do, like, for example, for chaos, one of hers is Our Lady of the Abyss. And when thinking about that, you really get down to the abyss. She's the lady, and it's kind of like this reverent prayer that you would send up to her just by saying the name alone. I think epithets have power. And I do want to put a tiny disclaimer here. Not all of these, like Nyx, okay, or Ereshkigal. Ereshkigal doesn't have a lot of info about her unless you have an actual practice with her, but they don't have epithets. Like Hecate has a lot of epithets, okay? But some of the goddesses and archetypes that I put in here, there aren't any epithets like around. So most of these are made up. Now, some of these I got from Ovid or from the Iliad, Medea by Euripides, the actual text. So Some of them I kind of like took out what people would call them in their actual mythos and stories, and those who would know. But other than that, I just kind of made them up, you know. Queen of the Void, Enchantress of Formless Darkness. So every single page has a channeled epithet and then an actual poem, chant, prayer. I think some of them I tried. I'm not very good at songwriting, but songs are just lyrics or poetry to me. So if you wanted to, and if you were kind of versed in that, like making a heartbeat, say you have a drum, say you have like a rattle of some kind, you could kind of use the poetry, especially the ones that rhyme, because some of them do and some of them don't. But like the ones that rhyme, you could really get into in a disembodied, you know, trance-like state, an altered state with the rhyming poetry, and like record yourself saying it in that way, and then have like a rattle or a drum going, and then that turns that poem into a song. Not to mention the name itself. You could like shout that name out in intervals throughout the course of you drumming it or humming it or something like that. So that's why I've said that they could be songs, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that could turn one of these into a song. And when there are, like when I said chants or something like that, it's more about like what you can shout out to the ether. Okay. So for instance, this, and there's a lot of them in the book actually that look like this, that have the epithet and then a small amount of text, and then it'll say ×3 down here. That just means you can say this 3 times and it turns it into its own chant. Let me show you this too. This is the drawing I did for Conjurer of Pregnant Shadows. So I think she's so awesome looking. I did all the illustrations in the book myself. So, and it's so cool because the way I do pen work, I don't do it in any kind of like HD quality, digital quality. I draw it on paper, and it's like a tactile experience. And then I scan it into the computer, and put it into the book as best as I can. Put it onto the paper as best I can, right? And so really it looks like someone drew this into the actual copy of the book. That's what I love. I don't like it to look too digitalized. I don't like it to look too done up, like you know, redefined or anything. So I really like that it looks like someone actually like drew it into the book and like really got into it. So I like that what I want to call my homemade art, because there's a difference between handmade and homemade, okay? And like handmade is like really good, you know, it's quality, right? But my art for this book is more homemade. It's kind of like it's scratched and it's etched and it's worked in such a way that it looks really primitive. But I did stay with form, with all of the, like none of these are abstract, none of these are humanoid. Most of them have feminine presenting qualities because this is a dark feminine. So, and I took some inspiration from some actual like statuary, like Greek goddess statuary. So I guess you'll see some of that, and I kind of tweaked them, you know, like I'll take a statue that I like and kind of twist it and form it to make it look like Hecate or something, you know. So actually this is one of my favorites. This is called let me get the angle right. The Weaver of Ageless Entropy. It's like she's got her entropy coming out of the cauldron and she's kind of wrapped herself in it. See, like this is very primitive, very homemade art, but I love it. She just looks so feral and wild, coming like her strings of entropy are coming out of the cauldron. I like it. It's good, you know? So I thought, okay, sorry, one more little, I guess you could call it caveat. There is artistic nudity in a way that I was able to, how do you want to say that? I don't know how to say this. I could get away with it. Okay. I'm about to show you one that has breasts, but it's so primitively drawn that you may not be able to tell. Like, I mean, you could tell, but this is one of my favorites of chaos, and it's called The Wet Nurse of Rarefied Winds. Okay. Like, look at her. Very kind of buxom, you know, holding her breasts. And they're kind of heavy, right? Like they're down her torso a little bit. So they're kind of heavy with the milk because she's the wet nurse. Let me read you Wet Nurse. It's because I'm like gushing about her. Windless might utters across the voided chasms. Do your worst. For the void calls forth its own. Squeeze the teat of vanquished winds, rarefied in its afterbirth. Nurture the offspring of universes. So good. So good. Like some of these are just, I can't believe that I was able to write these. I mean, and like I said, some of them felt very channeled. Like I already kind of had the words inside me and they just kind of came out, and I didn't have any other choice, you know, but to write them down. I could read you Conjure of Pregnant Shadows since we've already looked at her. So I'll read that to you. Deep in shadows, cloy and true, your heart renders a single clue. Deep in wombs, growing and through, birth the galaxies inside you. And so you see, you would like get into this kind of like heartbeat with it. You know, you could slow it down, you could speed it up depending on your mood. And that's kind of what it means to be inside ritual. You know, like you can speed up the ritual, you can slow it down, you can go on your own heartbeat, you know, and so it's really nice. I know that I said this in like the intro video that I put out, but I wrote a temple piece for each of the chapters. Each main chapter, I'll say, not the back chapter, but each main chapter has a temple piece that I drew out a border, a very, again, homemade border here. And then I wrote in a little about, I guess you could say, a temple vision. This isn't how I would get there every time with her, with whomever it is, but it's kind of like in the moment, I kind of like, okay, I need to visit her. How do I get there? You know? So it's almost, it's almost like a guided meditation if you were to like record yourself reading this, but you can just read it and kind of like awaken this kind of temple place in your mind. And each of them have, again, not an epithet, but they have like this weird, they all have like these weird names, like for Chaos, which is the primordial goddess before everything. Her temple I called Temple of Temporal Infinity. So good for her. Okay. It's so good for her. Let's move on to Tiamat. I'm going to go in order because I'm going to try to go in order throughout the book so that I can be within an hour and kind of keep up with myself. If I bounce around, I'm going to get lost and I don't know whom I've done and who I haven't. Let's see. Okay, yeah. The very first one for Tiamat is another Our Lady. Okay, and you'll hear that a lot throughout the book. Our Lady of the Salty Sea, because she's a sea dragon. Okay, so let me read Our Lady of the Salty Sea, and you can see how you might be able to hear like how Marian-esque it is, I guess. Cruel mistress of the salty seas, submerge us a temporal existence. Entities wrought of your salinity, peace be to us in your vastness. Hoist the stage of life's mortality, continuous moments cast pallidness. Flaccid waves conjure needed stillness, dead calm spans the hourglass. Set the moon at high tides, laughing in crescent slumbers. Swimming underway to render solaces, shift your hospitable shape. Stretch your waters across all lands, for they all lead to you. They all lead to you. This reminds me of another poem that I wrote about being born in the river. It's about being like an estuary. And it was some powerful stuff too. But serpentine source. Now here's another one, another short one. There's not a lot of short ones in this book, but here's a short one. That's the Dragonian Sea Witch. And it says, sea witch, call me down to your depths. And then there's this little dragon goddess there. You know? Isn't she sweet looking? Sweet siren, suck me to the bottom kind of energy. Wow, I love her. It's kind of like this whale, like, you know, she's coming up to take a breath, but she doesn't really need one. I don't know. She's kind of lurking. Oh, what happened? What happened? There we go. And then I put ×3, like you could, you know, say it 3 times fast, and then see if you can, like, if you're at the ocean, like I can just imagine if you're at the ocean and you like summon the dragon sea goddess or whatever, like what she probably possibly look like and smell like and be like. Queen of Scales. The dragon is such a powerful creature. Oh, my nose itches. For me anyway. But to have Tiamat be a feminine figure, like a dark goddess figure that I work with, they have to go hand in hand because the dragon is so powerful. So it makes sense to me that the dragon would take precedence in Tiamat's chapter. Okay, I do love Queen of Scales. I do love that. Okay, let me read Queen of Scales. Galaxies from dragon tails, Queen of Scales. Following your iridescent sails, Queen of Sails. Avoiding your obnoxious rails, Queen of Scales. You who always prevails, Queen of Scales. From all comparisons rail, Queen of Scales. Beast surrendering details, Queen of Scales. You who never fails, Queen of Scales. So good. I've got the Begettress. I tried to film a lot of the, what do you call them? The royal titles, right? Like you could say emperor, empress, right? That's kind of giving them a title. But for the ones that were like the begetter, like someone that begets, you know, like they birth something. I named it Begettress, specifically to form that relationship with them that begets. So she who bears all. Now here's an example of a drawing that I did that was like a Greek statue, but I tweaked it to be to look like who I wanted it to look like. I molded it in my image, I guess you could say. So this is Tiamat's epithet, Designer of Worlds. And you know, still like you can kind of tell she's got this like statuesque happening, but she's got the dragon or the mermaid tail really, and the world here. This, I guess you could call it a beacon. A beacon, not really a world, but you can like make up your own orb. That's what it's supposed to be. So now the other one across the across the street here says the Lamia of sodden skins. The Lamia. I like the aspect of creaturizing some of these faces too, because most of them, and it's so weird because most of them are shape-shifting, you know, and most of them have this kind of like quality about them that would make you think that if I said Lamia, it could probably go for any of them. You know, it could go for Nyx, and it could go for Chaos, and it could go all the way down to Persephone. And there's like this kind of rich quality to them that makes all these poems necessary for each of the other ones. So The lamia of sodden skins makes this specific to Tiamat because of her slippery cold-bloodedness, you know. Sorceress of the Wild Expanse. Now here's another one that I wrote. It's called Baroness of Brine. Weave slick brine emerge from primal nature's bore. Ancient fates last for times down in the crypts of all oceans. Wander the petty bioluminescent. Guard the wreaths of ageless yielding for future seasons of depths. Protect seaweed crowns circling your worldly heads. Nest cast in epochs, catching prey to sustain peace. I like that. Not very much about brine there, but you get the picture. You know, like it's more, she's shape-shifted now into like this fisherman person, you know. And then her temple. I do, after each chapter, I've got some lined pages for notes or whatever. Just like one double page, and that's it. So that if like someone wanted to make up their own epithets, or if when reading one of the poems, you kind of like get this idea and you're like, oh, I got this idea, or a ritual idea, or a spell idea, or a way to work with that archetype, you can like go ahead and have a place to write it down. I sometimes I'll be reading books like this and I'll have an idea and I'll write that crap in the margin, you know. I'm like, I have nowhere to write in inspirational books, you know, like I want to be able to, if the book is specifically for to inspire me and I get inspired, I want a place to write that stuff down. So it doesn't take up a lot of space. I mean, literally like this, and then you go, the very next page is Nyx. It goes to the very next chapter. So not a lot of, I guess you call them note pages, but I guess it is what it is. Again, starting off strong with Nyx is Our Lady of Heaven's Vault. So you have this sense of like, I want you to be like, as soon as you read Nyx, you're like, okay, I need to get into it. I need to get into it. I need to get into her. I need to feel her. And I don't know, maybe I don't know her. So I want to go in like very strong with each of the chapters, right? Now, Our Lady of Heaven's Vault goes like this, because I feel called to read this one. Sorry, let me start over. Crumbling ceiling of heaven's vault, laying open upon my face. Stars in my other eyes, tears streak like comets across my inky cheeks. Linger here. Night wait for no one, as pink skies turn purple, rushing to midnight with a savior's yawn wide in the throat. Hunger here. Where ethereal atoms dwell, while nocturnal creatures dance the passion of darkness, the elements know my inner heart's toil. Wish here. I like how these ended, like the stanzas ended here, because linger here, hunger here, wish here is telling you, okay, shoot yourself up into the sky and linger there, linger in the stars, you know, and then hunger here, right? Like hunger here, and then wish here, right? Like wish upon a star. So it's kind of nice how that there's a very powerful end to all the stanzas, you know. And then like this is like the only one that has like almost no text, and it's just a sentence, kind of poetic sentence, I guess you could call it. But I put this big drawing here. So let me see if I can get this in frame. There we go. And it's the Mother of Obscurity, and it just says, force yourself into the secrets of the night. Because this drawing was so big, I just thought, you know, this just needs like a powerful statement for the Mother of Obscurity. So very nice. I like that. Lady of Winged Night. Here's another of the statues that I like manipulated. So you can very see the statuesque nature of this, but I added the stars and the fabric to make her look more star-like. And she is the prophetess of pitch. And it says, prophesies pitch, darkness bewitch, night fall witch. So she's fabulous. Conjure of nebulosity. I have quite a few for Nyx about nebulas and stuff, because I don't just have her like as this the veil that we see of the night. It's just like all night could be. So it's encompassing this universal aspect of her. Midnight Witch. Now I like these too, the ones that kind of rhyme in these. All the poems are different. Some of them rhyme like you'd think they would rhyme. Some of them rhyme in different ways. Some of them don't rhyme because they're very passionate, kind of, I guess you could call them surreal or abstract poems. But once you get into it, you would know which one it is. But this one is the Sorceress of Shade. Shadows and shade, hidden yet not afraid, take me away from the day. Presence be to you now, spell cast resounds, bring me to your brow. Lasting be your might, cyclical in your right, deliver me to your height. Screech and howl, cover me in your cowl, grant me your foul. Through stars and ether, and as night's teacher, usher me even deeper. It's very punchy, the way I read that just now. It feels kind of punchy, you know, kind of staunch and like I've forgotten to take a breath, you know, which makes me think of the night too, you know, like gravity and getting stuck out in space and stuff. So, and then we have her temple. Oh no, I do have to read you this one because it's so good. But her temple drawing, Nyx's star temple drawing looks like that. This very goddess like floating over the being as the night. But the one across the street here says, goddess of never heard sounds. Sounds never heard by ears not listening. Goddess speaks my name, punishing claustrophobic bliss. In the vapors of my mind, limited in my quantum reverie, sick with night's dark sublime. Render the riddle of evenings, coming forth so slowly, watchful in otherness's sensing. Cast in the moon's shadow, climbing up to you, reaching black canyons narrow, whispering prevailing nocturnal skies, where it's always Caligula's dusk conquering cycles. Infallible, unfathomable rights, reading the signs here, creatured and living delights. See, like the never heard sounds, when I wrote that, the goddess of never heard sounds, it reminded me of this kind of white noise that you think you would hear in space. Like, you know how if you ever watched a space documentary, like the one called How the Universe Works, and they put you far out into like black holes or, you know, into the void of space. And there's kind of like this where you wouldn't be able, like you would think you'd gone deaf because there's so much attacking you this way that you can't hear anything but this white noise. So it made sense for Nyx, because if I was up in her bower, I wouldn't hear anything. It would just be white noise. It'd be like glitches and static and, you know, I don't know. I've never been there. All right, now we get to Hecate. Now I've done some cool things with. I did a cool thing with Hecate because I drew a picture like this because I wanted her very much to be looking like a crossroads, goddess. But I wrote the text in each of the paths, and it's the same text in all three, but I just made it flipped so that it would say that like it was like on a stone step in front of you, and it says, "Go this way, take this path, forge ahead, heed no wrath, guided hands with you at all, step by step you've heard the call." Like I can hear her like saying these words, like you got to the crossroads, all right, but now what? And it's like she has to say, take that, take this path, and she gets all dramatic with it, So Hecate was one of my favorites to do. So many of these were, but Hecate was a really good one. You got Liminal Lady, Indomitable Queen of Witches, the Torchbearer, of course, the Weaver of the Wayside, she who holds the keys. She who holds the keys behind the many doors, unlock new awareness shaken to the core. She who holds the keys before every gate, free the ideas, shudder to await. She who holds the keys around all bends, solve inspiration, seeing each end. So good. Well, I don't mean to like toot my own horn. I just mean that they're good. Like they feel kind of powerful in the mind. Once I've said them out loud, it's like when writing these down on paper, it's a little different. Sometimes you do have, and poetry's like this anyway. It's good to like, talk it, say it, talk it, talk it. It's good to like say it out loud because it feels different in the mouth. And it feels different. Like once you've said it, it's kind of like the words linger in the brain, and they kind of linger in the mind a little. So, Mother of Magic, she who sees all paths. But then I also went into a little bit of, some more of Hecate's aspects because I wanted more of her myth than just like her being the crossroads or whatever. Attendant of the underworld, godmother of the threshold, because she is very liminal. Now, I do think that if I thought any of them could be songs, Godmother would be the one. So Godmother of the Threshold reads like this. And I think I could probably make it into a song, but I don't know because I'm not very good at that. But Godmother, rise, guide us through worlds, summon be the model of magical roles, participate in between realms, command, speak sacred vows, make meanings broad, the threshold jaunt. Godmother, rise. Guide us through cosmos, assemble the arts of magical duty, engage liminal fields, demand, speak sacred rites, make messages obvious, the verge dance. Godmother, rise. Now there's this aspect of like Hecate, because she's liminal, because she has the threshold, goddess about her. She has this kind of there's a temptress aspect to her because it's like if you think you know the way, she's not gonna show you the way, like per se. It's more like she tempts you along the way, and it's kind of like if someone were to put out breadcrumbs. Maybe, possibly. So there's like this, I'm tempted by the path. I'm tempted by your light and your liminality. So the very last poem for Hecate that I wrote was Traversing Temptress. Tempting be the journey, tempting be the way, tempting be the paths, tempting be the array, tempting be shock, tempt be the awe, tempting be the foreseen, tempting be prince of paw. Tempting be the marvel, tempting be a spectacle, tempting be traversing, tempting be the delectable. Okay, this is the next one. All right, now we have Ereshkigal. Ereshkigal has some good ones in here. Oh, I love her. I started out with, I didn't start out Hecate with Our Lady, I don't think, but with Ereshkigal, I started out with Our Lady of the Great Below, because the Great Below is what they called her domain. Like, the Great Below was like this underworld kingdom. It means vast. And so in her mythos, the Great Below is like her entire domain. So I called this prayer Our Lady of the Great Below as one of her epithets. Countess before the river. Because, even though this is Mesopotamia, and we often think of like, traversing the river Styx to get to the underworld, okay? In Mesopotamia of that time, there would have been the Tigris and the Euphrates River. So there's still an aspect of like a river people, of river folk. And so the river could still be a prominent feature in Ereshkigal's myth if we knew any more about her than we do. So I've called her the Countess before the river. Wade easily along the river of the netherworld. Floating stings the rapid coursing down in black seal swirls. In the bitterness, sounds echo in painful destinies. Vapid, conjuring, lazy streams down in our miseries. Eyes looking back from the distant shores, life passed by so unsodden, waving to souls poor. Reaching the destination, castle of the lonely dead, the Countess waits on lucid docks, no more tears are shed. I like the next one too. Mistress of guarded pandemonium. I like that. Pandemonium is what they called, is an aspect of what they called Hell in Paradise Lost, which is one of my favorite books. So, caterer of catacomb mists. Queen of foreboding. Now here's one, the Queen of the Night is the Burney relief, right? And no scholar seems to know who it is. Like, it could be Lilith, it could be Ereshkigal, it could be Inanna, Ishtar. Like, they don't know. So I kind of took that the outline of the Burney relief and made Ereshkigal look like this, So this is the seeress of the deceased. You see how she's got her wings, she's standing on her skulls, she's holding a skull. So it really looks like, that statue or that, that terracotta relief, but I kind of made it more Ereshkigalian. And then over here is her chant for the seeress of the deceased. The dead be not fools, you will abide by my rules, never to be cruel. Say that 3 times, right? The next one is called Ruler of the Cur, because Cur was also, I think, a name for, I think the Cur was a name for the underworld, but also the name of the dragon that like stole Ereshkigal and took her there. So I'll read it to you, okay? Because part of the myth was that she was taken by a dragon and kind of already given, it was kind of the Persephone Hades thing, but the dragon came, swooped her, took her to the underworld, but I think she already knew that the underworld was like her domain to rule. So, and then because of the dragon and like the fear and everything it had with it, it, like, they don't really have they didn't have a name except for the name of the dragon, which like lumped up all the fear that they had, Hey, Dylan. So I want to read Ruler of the Cur because it's mostly about like the dragon ride, Dragon rider aloft in clouds of midnight contemplations ride. down on the backs of summoned wings, residing in shoulder blades of naught, cresting and falling above fields of firelight, cradling the scales of hides too hot. Cur be the place that our search calls us home, fluttering time standing still, below the great furling thing that wants to annihilate the tainted inky skies. Down deep in the knowing of forever's pain, be unto death, dear dragon rider. Cast spells on smoking nostrils adrift in the vast beneath, waiting for a dark opening. Dismounting shades, acquiring souls, suckling at forgotten breaths to take. Sinking to dark ground, dominions rising, sliver of moons awaiting its queen. That reads well. Thank you, Dylan. It's so pretty, isn't it? Isn't it so pretty? Dylan's congratulating me on the book release. So good. And we are in the Ereshkigal section. Talking about Ereshkigal, the governess of souls, conjurer of compassion, the Sibyl of solemnity. I'm trying to get to the ones that I really wanted to. Oh, here's a good one. Now, Ereshkigal, as some of you may know, in the Inanna story, the descent of Inanna has this kind of, you have to lose 7 of your wonders to get into like the inner sanctum. Okay, I guess because and there have been speculation about like what the 7 things that Inanna had to like lose to get there, but in the stories they talk like, oh, now it's a necklace, now it's a cloak, and you're like, okay, that's it. Probably was those actual things, like her treasures, what she treasured, but so many scholars have now twisted that into be like, okay, well, if now it has to probably be, when we're talking about Inanna and her bubbles, like, okay, let's not call them bubbles, let's probably make it to where it has some kind of symbolic significance, you know. So the goddess of the 7 gates, because technically the goddess of the 7 gates isn't Inanna. That's not her realm. It's Ereshkigal's. So if anyone's going to be the goddess of the 7 gates, it'd be her. So this is kind of like when you're at the 1 gate before the 7 gates. This is kind of like the poem that would be there, I guess. Lose your spiritual power, lose your earthly power, lose your mental power, lose your body power, lose your love power, lose your ego power, lose your self power. All who wish admittance to the goddess of the 7 gates, nude and bowed. So you lose your 7 stuff, and then she's like, you want to come in, you better be nude and bowing. Ooh, Ereshkigal is one of my fierce. She's fierce. The next one is another kind of statue rendition that I made into the Lady of Last Breaths. So there's the Lady of Last Breaths illustration. And it says, have mercy on this our hour of death, Lady of Last Breaths. Have pity at this the crossroads of life, Lady of Last Breaths. Have sorrow on this eve of your brevity. And then it's her temple. Her temple, Ereshkigal's temple, is nice, but I didn't do a good drawing with her because I felt like this was hers is very cave, okay, cave of wonders, okay, and it was very crystalline, and if I drew that, it would have just been too detailed and I couldn't put words in it. So I just put a skull with some crystals on it for the Temple of Crystallized Death, and that's Ereshkigal's temple. When I'm done going through all the chapters, I want to kind of probably pick one of the goddesses or the archetypes and read out one of the temples for the YouTube, okay? For you guys. All right, the next is Persephone. First one in, we're starting strong with her epithet, Dread Persephone. Hot damn. Okay. I see you standing there, backlit by hell, holding wildflowers in your hand. Thousands of enmities in your hair waft, curling rays swaying in the heat. With every downward step, you demand respect from those in these realms. Feeling into your duality, I see your aspects reflected in your glowing eyes. Your breath leaves spring in its wake, caressing the winds of this place. You don't need to carry a scythe to command the innumerable dead. How goes the kingdom that didn't know you were needed to fulfill their veneration? Persephone might be another fierce archetype that I work with too. Persephone is pretty fierce. Then we have the goddess of the underworld, of course, as one of her epithets. Then the goddess of Flora. Goddess of Flora is her Cora aspect, I guess you could call it. I'm going to get to a rhyming one for Persephone, I think, to read. Our descending virgin. That's more of an abstract poem. Infernal Shadowess. Bride of Death. Let me read this one. I don't know what this one's kind of calling to me. Bride of Death. With your beauty and grace, you never had a chance. Caught the eye of hell and its throned inhabitant. He set you upon his lap, made vows between the seeds. Let you roam where you must, seeing to your every need. Whispering among the dead, he'll love you evermore. With sweet eternal surrenders, together you'll rule the underworld. This is like one of the only ones that I put their like love interests into. Because he has such a prominent role in Persephone's, you know? Like, it's like, how can you write about Persephone or even have any kind of like notion with her if you don't include Hades, at least in some regards, you know? Witch of Promises. Equinox Empress. I do like this one because she's my Equinox Empress. Now Persephone rules like the spring and the autumn, right? So she's more equinoxian for me. So let me read Equinox Empress. And in the vanishing light of autumn descend, your essence with leaves as brown as the mud, soft impact with the dying of the sun. Back, back, back to colder caves, to embraces tucked around the fires of hell, the immortality of death's reign. Joyful tears as snowflakes melt on your cheeks, warmed from the seasons crowding in your breast. And with the taste of spring's kiss ascend, your essence with lush as green as grass blades, soft impact with the coming of the sun. Back, back, back to warmer climes, to embraces full of nostalgic memories, the immortality of life's reign. Joyful tears as raindrops chilled on your cheeks, frozen from the seasons, pressing in your breast. I like that because it's very dualistic here with the autumn and the spring. The Witch of Promises, the Mother of Mortals. Now this one was a short one called The Charmer of Beasts, because for me, I feel like Persephone is a charmer of beasts because you got Cerberus living down there, not to mention whatever other creatures could possibly be in the underworld. Okay. But I always kind of thought of Cerberus as being like their pet or his pet. It was Hades's pet. And then she kind of charmed him, you know, like once she became the queen of the underworld, Cerberus became hers, you know? So I've got Charmer of Beast with a very homemade drawing of Cerberus there chilling, and she's kind of like standing on top of him, telling him to shut up, and I don't know what she would be telling him. Charmer of Beasts, your demons on a leash, Scorn to never cease, should you ever release. Oh, that's what it was. She's kind of like tugging him back, you know, like she's got him on a leash. And it's like this metaphor for your own demons that you've got on a leash. And it's like, if you ever release those things, power would just vanquish, you know? So, liminal liaison. This is another one because Persephone's liminal too, right? I talked about liminality with Hecate, but Persephone has this liminality to her that because of her dualism, because of her equinoxian aspect. So I've got her as a liminal liaison in terms of her epithet. Then I've got her as necromanceress. Dig me up, dig me down, take care of my soul. Don't leave me in the ground. Take me to your domain. Rob my mortal grave. With you I will remain. And then the consort of the catabasis, which is the journey down to the underworld. Journey down to dwellings rot, retrieve immortality forsaken me. Lost mirrors that no longer reflect vital wisdom shared in the descent. Distance and days, months, years, fall with me, gentle maiden. Open the chasms with secret words, writing the crevasse across tundra. Spirit beasts, come fetch me, attracted to sacrificial bloods, where the sun is silent, consorting with abandon's wrath. Lust be for the trodden, down to dark netherworlds, everlasting underworld's fumes. Drink from celestial southern bowl, enter the darkened path, drunken in caves made for you. Yummy. Okay, next one is Lilith. Lilith. She's got some really powerful ones, you guys. Okay. I mean, Dylan, I know you're the only one here, but maybe someone will watch this back. Okay. I don't know. But Lilith has some powerful ones here. Let's see. We start off strong with Lilith as the seductress of the soulless. Satirical succubus. I like satirical succubus because she has this aspect like she could be a parody, you know, like she's a parody of Eve, which pisses her off when I fucking say that. Okay. Forgive me, okay? But I can't help it. So I wrote this. It's called the epithet for this poem is called satirical succubus. Plunder the sheaths, I, succubus of creation, not here to fulfill your raw expectations. Strip the skins, I, succubus of conception, not here to conform your vile situations. Rob the nodes, I, succubus of production, not here to please your depraved satisfactions. Steal the armor, I, succubus of suction, not here to suit your lewd imagination. The one across the street on the other page is the demoness, okay? Because, you know, she's Lilith, and there's her drawing right there. Very nice. Very nice. I like that. I like her. She's nice. I like her. The demoness, let me read her. What terrifying attraction of the demoness's vile stings? What alarming allure of the demoness's cursed wings? What grim bait of the demoness's ghastly cling? What lurid fright of the demoness's spectral springs? What dim trap of the demoness's vast everything? No, I did put an Our Lady with Lilith. Our Lady of the Rejected. Now this one does, okay, Our Lady of the Rejected for Lilith reads like one of the Mary prayers, I guess you'd say. Most of the ones that say Our Lady of blank read kind of Marian-esque. And so this one's called Our Lady of the Rejected, because Lilith so is, okay? Our Lady of the Rejected, O immortal one, O rejected one, have mercy on our heavy hearts cast out from divine's thrall. Covered in shame and guilt, let not our thoughts become our bower. Cast in sanctimonious dark, let not our mistakes transform who we are. Our Lady of the Rejected. O immortal one, O rejected one, have mercy on our burdened souls, forsaken by divine's light. Outcasted siren, the harlot of the kingdom, queen of the possessed. This one's let me read this one. Harlot of the kingdom. It's calling me to read it. Okay. Infernal harlot made from hate. They know you not, you're their escape. Unjust conformity of wills, for not your own take your thrills. Desirous madam, thyself be true, even in dominance command the clues. Kingdoms fallen, overthrones, process the battlefields you need not atone. Damned wonders of savagery, they hold out hope you will not marry. Ghastly maiden created from cruelty, take your placed stance, you of vast duty. Then I've got, see, like Lilith, she was demoness. Not Lilith. I've got Lilith the demoness and Lilith the devouress. The devouress. She devours. And then I've got the first woman. Devouress is more like a chanty one. Chanty. And then I've got the vampiress. Lilith has a lot of S's. She's the demoness, she's the devouress, and she's the vampiress. Okay. Oh, and then this one. Okay. This one's a little salty. Okay. This one's a little salty. I got a little lipstick on that. Shit. The dominatrix of vast dominions. It's a little salty. Okay. But I'm gonna read it anyway. Because I really liked it. So Lilith is the dominatrix of vast dominions. Slick leather, damp with decaying pleasures, rot away the layers of skin, use as whips, lounging corpses abound the circumference of your domain. Holler to the dead, honor to the dead, ball gag the next victim of death, make them cry with glorious gratification. Make them beg in your name. Cast them to the red walls. Await a new sacrifice in leather slick with pleasure's decay. She liked that one. She liked that one. Oh. Witch of the Rapture. Now, Lilith, most people wouldn't call her a witch, but I do. Okay. If any of them are witches, she's one. Vengeful Vixen. I like Witch of the Rapture. And then last one I wrote for her is the Irreverent one. All right. Now we're moving on to the I know, right? She did love that one. So maybe a little kiss. It's like she kind of made that happen, you know? Like she wanted that page marred in her name, you know? I didn't think of that, but that's kind of cool, Dylan. All right, now we're getting into the crones, okay? We're getting into my crones. My crone matrix. Now, come upon the first crone is Kaliak, okay? The Gwenta hag. Love her so much. Oh my God. The first one for Kaliak is called the Hag of Winter. And then we've got the Blower of the North Winds, the Crone of Chill. Let me read Hag of Winter, because that's the first one. And I always feel like I start strong with the first one. Not that the other ones aren't powerful. Hag of Winter. Oh, Hag of Winter, Blossom us into snow angels made from the laughter of seasons long gone. Hush be the coming dark. Pray for sustaining sustenance for all under your pitiful skies. O hag of winter, mold us into snowflakes made from the tears of seasons long gone. Quiet be the coming chill. Pray for comforting coziness for all under your poor lands. O hag of winter, carve us into long icicles made from the salts of seasons long gone. Silent be the coming frost. Pray for soothing synapses for all under your dismal season. The woman of blight. I did like that. I like this one. The great weather grandmother. I like calling them the crones the grandmothers. I like that. Woman of blight. Unfurl the gust of blight upon the lands. Lay waste to growths only you command. Cry out crazy the season of blight. Protected in the cocoon of winter's bite. Ban in the womb of hibernation's warmth. Play the music of snow in your fine form. The giantess. This was a good one too to write because she is a giantess to me. Like she's the mountain. She's the winter. But more so, she's like the land in winter. So as the giantess, it made the most sense for her to be the giantess. Your body as the mountain, your breath the low-hanging clouds, blowing hair as the strong trees, fingers as the hilly mounds. Your feet are the oceans, your arms shake the tides, shoulders mold the canyons, thighs are the rivers that collide. Your dress is the blanket of snow, their flakes come from your eyes. Your teeth are ancient cairns, your mouth is where the sun will rise. Harsh hag halting. This one's nice because it's alliterative, but you can't really tell that unless you like see it written down. But it's called, the poem is, it's very blocky. So anyway, I'll read it. Harsh hag halting, bitter, bleak, bold, corporeal, coarse, cold, sinister, slaking, slow, shielded, shearing soul, crass, crude, chapped, body, boorish, blue, hard, horrific, hoarse. So it's very, very blocky, you know. And then we've got the barbaric blue face. I haven't shown you all a drawing in a while, but this is my my barbaric blue face there. And you can't tell because I didn't put any woad on her, like any of the blue woad that she would have been wearing. But I very much see the Kaliak in like this blue woad war paint. But this is a black and white book, so you'll have to color it in yourself. The veiled virago, which is a bad-tempered woman. Now, the veiled virago, as the bad-tempered woman, was my nod to the Kaliak at the winter solstice, like the actual solstice. Bad-tempered woman under the veil of winter, chilled to her old bones, quaking in rotten valleys. Render me unworthy of the wheel that turns while winter is so still. The bell tolls at midnight on a lingering solstice. That was kind of like my a winter solstice poem that I wrote once. Because she is kind of bad-tempered. She's moody, but I like that about her. The blustering one, the thunderess, because she's a storm summoner. You know, the Kaliak brings the storm. And they're even a little bit more storm-esque because they happen in winter. Do it, Dylan. And you would be surprised, like especially if you write poetry or channeled messages. It doesn't have to be poetry necessarily. It could be messages. And you could write this in chapters of like the aspects that you have for those. Like me, I chose to name them after the chapters after the actual goddesses or actually the archetypes. But say you had Poseidon, right? Like the next book that I'm currently writing that's coming out next year has chapters devoted to like magic, right? So there's a chapter for time, a chapter for chaos, a chapter for death, a chapter for solitude, a chapter for, well, you know, like you divide your one guy up into 12 to 15 aspects. Bam, there were your chapters right there, you know. And like I said, most of these came straight out of like books of mirrors, so it's like some of them were already done. The Thunderess, Boulder Wielder. This one's like very, the Kaliak had me punchy with this, with her. Wield the boulders against cold shoulders, ever getting older, mountain molder. The winter upholder, glacier, polder, storm roller, nothing smoldered, north and south polar. Now I did like this one. This one's called The Midwife of Dormant Seeds. And this one's more like, like I said, some of these are so prayer-esque. Like I'm praying to her and I'm like calling her down and I want her to be right here with me in the room. And the Midwife of Dormant Seeds is a lot like that, because when I give them epithets like the midwife, I feel like they embody the midwife. So this is a nurturing individual, right? So anyway, seeds going dormant in your bitter breaths, no bounty to be found, we offered what was left. Take us into strange arms, let us suckle on the peak. If not, we may not survive, rendering springs weak. Coddle us in your bosom, don't let us go stray. The winds are howling in your blood, in the dying light of day. Discipline our beloved hearts, nurse us for the winter. Careful sow from seasons past, demolish all who may enter. Demolish all who may enter. I love that. Storm Summoner. Now, y'all know, okay, if you know me, I am a storm witch, okay? So storms are high loves of mine. So writing this one was nice, okay? Dreamy in winter's reveries, vortices echoing along the white pelts of chilling air. Clouds rolling in from the dark days, mountainous retreat. Thunder before lightning blasts. In your eyes, tears of snow fall down into locks of ancient ages. Storm is brewing in your cauldrons, ringing resonances sounding fallen. Wishing on dead tree branches, shelters erected in summer's haze. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next one, which is Baba Yaga. I love her. Okay. I'm going to take a second with Baba Yaga because she's going to make sure I'm present. Okay. Talking like this on the lives always gets me parched, you know? Hey, Ange. Aw, I'm so sorry. Yes, Storm Witches Unite. Yes. I'm so sorry, Ange, that the post is acting a fool, but I guess we're getting into the holiday season, so they're gonna start acting wonky anyway. But yeah. Going over my goddess poetry book. I hope you go back and listen to me read some of these because I think you're gonna like some of these, Ange. So I guess if we get off, go back and read and like watch me read. Listen to me read some of the ones I've already said because I think you would like them. Just because we always seem to be on the same wavelength with stuff like this. But anyway, So we're on Baba Yaga, okay? My another hag goddess of mine. Hag of the Glade, okay? Now, because Ange just came in, I'm going to explain a little bit of the book's logistics for a second. Yeah. Like, look how pretty. And it's so thick. She's 320 pages, okay? She's thick. 13 chapters, each with a face of the dark feminine. And the unique thing about this book is that you would think that the poems have the titles, but the titles themselves of the poems are epithets for that goddess or archetype. So like now we're on Baba Yaga because I've kind of gone through and read some from the chapters previous. The Hag of the Glade. Now you could say, okay, that's the title of the poem. It is the title of the poem, but it's also an epithet of hers that is like very inspirational and, you know. I'll read Hag of the Glade because I think I'm getting called. Oh yeah, I'm getting called to read this because she wants me to say like the babushka. That's called like grandmother name that I love, that she makes me call her sometimes. So, okay. Hag of the Glade. Wandering in sweet twilight, a moonlit glade awakens. A screech of an owl hoots overhead. Dangling branches scratch pink cheeks in the winds of night. Baba, Baba, Babushka. I call to you, grandmother. Help me, help me, help me find my way. Flickering lights appear floating on air. Dark laughter haunts this place, and I am far from home. Crying to be so near, I walk towards the smell of baking bread, locked from you in this liminal place. I stand at your skull gate, waiting. Please let me in, hag of this glade. Softly did the creak of hinges sound. I made it safely to you. Now please open the door. Baba, Baba, Babushka. She liked that one. Then there's the wood sap grandmother and the cackler of trees. The cackler of trees, I liked drawing her because it really did remind me of the Baba. And this one's one of the chant ones that you can say like ×3. It says, cackle up the woods for all who never understood the righteous and good. Blast be those who could, reverent to those who should. And there's the drawing for the cackler of trees. Isn't she so sweet? She's so sweet. Little old lady sitting there rocking, cross-legged, laughing. And then it's like her laughter becomes the wind in the trees. It's very visionary for me with her. Oh yeah, there are illustrations. There are about 50 illustrations. I did about 5 per chapter. So, and I showed some. So if you go and watch it back, you'll see some. The wood sap grandmother. Let's see. Teacher in the thicket. Elder of the holler. I want to read an abstract one. Let me read Teacher in the thicket. Teach us the bramble stroke that of the briar. Stabilize thickets of forest damp floors. Support nature's way of covering us with her grace. Accept various challenge the wood brings in the scab and spring. In the harvest opportunity. Strength of heart in coming winter's kiss. The wood world is hard. You're the voice of experiencing the canopy wide overhead. Understanding brings the harsh cut upon a bush dame's lip. Track prints covered in mud and sticks. Knowing knowledge welds and melds. Earthen wisdom's rotting bringing mushrooms to our table. Oh, I did. One of her epithets is the witch of the wind between the trees. So I did call her that. Witch of the wind between the trees. The wind between the trees is forgotten by humans rushing towards progress. The witch makes her home there, caught with the wind and the boundaries. Her gifts are branchy birch hands gnarled from the bark of all trees. Loving acts of throwing seeds to those who dwell in this vast forest. Get things done within the hours of daylight's fanciful germinations. Rewards be to those who find solace in these places. Boons await. Find this wind witch of the forest. Get out there and walk the sacred road. Never forget that life is a journey and the wind is a gift. I know, right? Well, there's so many here, like there's 200 poems here. And like I said, some of them I wrote so long ago and they were just in books of mirrors. So, and a lot of them, because they were written down in like this ritualized kind of way back then, it's kind of weird to say them out loud, to kind of feel them in the mouth. They feel kind of different in the mouth and they kind of linger in the mind, like I was saying before. And then, okay, I got to show y'all this drawing too. I didn't want to show y'all all of them, but, for some surprises. But I love this drawing for her because this epithet is called the Warden of the Wildwood. And it's like this like old tree, but she's got her like warden keys on a spigot, like, those, I don't know what you call them, those wood things that you knock into the trees to get maple syrup, or sap. She's got like one of those spigots, those tree spigots in the tree, and she's like put up her forest keys. She's the Warden of the Wildwood. And then we have the Feral Farer. Okay, and she's up in her mortal and pestle. I gotta show y'all this one too. I'm sorry. I just love Baba Yaga so much that her drawings just filled me with so much love. But there is the Feral Farer, okay, right, riding in her mortal and pestle. She's so cute. My husband, like, immediately when he saw me drawing this, he was like, "Why are her boobs hanging down to her belly button?" I said, "She's ancient, okay? There's nothing bad or wrong with that. That's what she's supposed to look like." And it was so funny because I didn't know what to say. I was like, "This looks weird to you?" Like, let me read you Feral Farer. Faring on in feral glory, taking the forest inventory, journeying across the wood, in a mortal there you stood. Up you fly with pestle in hand, ever watchful of the land. Wielder of the wakeful flame. That's all about the skull having the flame. I'm going to read this one to you. I'm getting called because I love the last line of this poem so freaking much, okay? Wielder of the wakeful flame. When all is lost, I look for you in the ever-darkening forest. Careful in your hut, impossible tasks ensued, I carry out your warrants. By stepping up, you set me right, for I was wandering adrift. Hollering to my face, you will heal while I am in your midst. When all is complete, I stand accomplished. You sing me a dark lull. Kiss me on my cheek and send me home with a talisman of skulls. With a talisman of skulls. I freaking loved that because it is. Vasilisa has got a talisman in that skull, Kiss me on my cheek and send me home with a talisman of skulls. Oh, chills, chills. Guardian of the woodland path. The untamed one, because the forest is very untamed to me. Oh, let's see. Guardian of the woodland path. I might read this one. Kneel on the forest floor. Security bleeds and fixes the core. The guardian will come. Transformed you will become. Shaken by opening surrounds. Noise of the woods abounds. Stop before you meander and smell the flora and gander. Fix your eyes upon the structure, careful at the forest juncture. Ready to always defend, the forest needs your mend. Your path may twist, but you as a spirit exist. Take heed your inner limiting, even if you're only visiting. Feast upon the edges. Pay attention to the hedges. The forest is all inescapable, but you will stand unshakable. I love that okay. Ugh. I love that so much. So many of these speak to the actual aspects of the goddess or the archetype, right? Um, but how we can transform them to be about us, like that's the soul. Like the forest is all inescapable, but you will stand unshakable. Now, at first, you're thinking, okay, guardian of the woodland path, right? This is her. She's the one that's going to stand there as the guardian of the woodland path. But then you're thinking, that's me too. In the forest of time or wherever, I'm going to stand there unshakable, brave, right? So it's kind of like, and this is how I work with the goddess, like she's very mirroring. Oh, I love this one. This one's called The Ogress of the Oaks. She is so ogre, okay? She is so Shrek-like. Oh, and this one's good too. The Benefactor of the Backwood. This one's funny, okay? She made me write this. She made me write this in this book. Okay. Benefactor of the Backwood. Poppies surround the gate of the benefactor of the backwood. A sign there reads, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. If they ache you, I'll pull them out by the root. I can't believe she made me write that in this book. Okay. But it's so her, like if you come upon my domain here and your tooth aches or your eye aches or whatever, I'll just yank them right out. Like, and it reminds me so much of like my dad used to say that too. Like sometimes I would go to him and I would be like, oh, such and such hurts. And he was like, you want me to break your toe? It won't, whatever is hurting you won't hurt no more. Like as a joke. I don't know, maybe that's a little morbid, but Ogress of the Oaks. I want to read this one to you because I love the Baba as the ogress. There's lightning bugs in her spine, this keeper of the acorns. Devotion renders her imperative in the ritual opening spaces. Forest heart thrums in her chest, beats quick as a hummingbird. Swallowing monster magic in her hungry, gaping maw. Take a bite out of the barks, chunks regurgitate in the dew. Standing never idle in moonlight, manifesting shrapnel in her veins. Tools in the shed of the mind, she has given all she is. The ogress of the oak. And then she's also the harpy of unsated hunger. The wilderness wanderer. Okay, and then we have her temple. Her temple is, look at the drawing for this temple. The temple of humming pines. Look at that pine tree. That's, I drew that. That's a pine tree growing in my yard, and I drew it. And I love it. Because it reminds me of home with like little pine cones on there. Temple of humming pines. All right, next we have Medusa. Okay. Medusa. Then we have very first one for Medusa is the Pythoness. The Pythoness. Very snake-like. But this poem, my hair. Oh. This poem has the like a snake. So I don't know if I'll be able to render that, but maybe I will. So this is the Pythoness. This is the drawing of the Pythoness. Love that. Penetrating, piercing sockets of holy transformation. I be but a hair on your head, writhing and slithering, split tongue not speak, to whom on your path. Scale for scale, liminal priestess, once ensconced through wet grasses, May I be sick and fall slowly to tread on bellies. Hail Pythonus. Hail Pythonus. You have to read it to get it. There's a whole bunch of S's in there. I'm not doing it right because I can't like a snake. Then we've got the monstrous, the conjurer of immobility. Okay, Medusas are really good. Medusas are really good. Okay. Conjure the dust up from the footfalls of those who would corrupt. Sick sedition playing, wreaking havoc's degradation. Contaminate the dirt down from modest slides of those who would sully, ravish soil molesting, pollute profanity besmirchment. Conjure the ashes down from tarnished vaults of those who would deface, pillage, hurt, immobilizing, destroy foul dishonorment. Excuse me. The witch of petrifying gaze. I like the first line of this. It says, come around the corner, ye of pathetic mourners. I like this. And then the venomous priestess. Venomous priestess. Oh, sorceress of the shield. I think this one's about Perseus, isn't it? Yeah. With gifts from the gods, your reflections shone. Down you went to the lair unknown. Upon a slumber bed, Medusa lay in wait. Swish goes your sword, your thrust was great. Of Perseus did sever the head of the Gorgon. Her death was swift, the deed not undone. Head to the shield, to war and to success, Medusa casts her glances, now a fearsome sorceress. Ooh. She liked that one. Because it was like she kind of felt, to me, she is a sorceress of the shield, because before she became a head on a shield, she didn't have this kind of power. She did, but she hid it away. Like she hid in a cave, right? And then when Perseus came and hit her head, chopped her head off and put her on the shield, she became like this fearsome sorceress that roamed the land again, because he had her on a shield. And so it was kind of like she took her power back by letting him kill her, was the way she explained it to me in this weird way. No, this one is about Athena's jealousy. Okay. Or Athena and her. Our Lady of the Betrayed. Okay. Athena's doom, reign over temples where maidens lose what they treasure. Athena's wrath rings clear bells, maidens carry lost captured beauty. Athena's jealousy rips through walls, maidens clean, losing their care for. Ooh. And we have her as the courtesan of curses, the lady of rightful rage. She's so good. And then the mortal Gorgon, because out of her Gorgon sisters, she was the only mortal. Now this one's good because this one's got some good lines in it. The mortal Gorgon. Mortal one of sisters three, cast your humanity. Sorry. With fallen tusks in soft meadows where the blue-haired men seafaring await you, sunlit in loving embraces, lust crusting like waves, combing fingers and hair, roped in seaweed, covering your shielded virgin eyes, wandering over watery body, entwined in salty tears when hymen breaks, impregnated with wings. With hymen breaks, impregnated with wings, because she birthed Pegasus. When she made me write that, okay, I say that like she made, like she made me write this. But when I wrote that, when hymen breaks, impregnated with wings, I thought, holy hell. I couldn't believe I wrote that down, you know? The stone siren. Now here's another one. In a lot of the other drawings that I did, I took Greek statues of goddesses or whatever, women, I guess, and made them look like the archetypes that I wanted them to look like. And stone siren is that. Where it says, to you I pray, show me the way, with dazzling gaze, make them pay. Okay, this is one of those righteous rage ones where you can like shout this at the altar, right? And here's that drawing. And you can say it 3 times. You like shout it at the altar, throw some snake skins down, get some righteous rage happen, justice happening, There's so much you can do with this poetry. And like I said, just the epithets. And then like if there's small text, or take a chunk, a stanza out of one of the other poems that you liked, like that with when hymen breaks, impregnated with wings. I'm thinking, okay, this is something when I want to work with Pegasus, I can birth him with these words, like I can manifest it. Mother of Pegasus is in the very next one, okay? Because Pegasus, I love him, all right? Birth horses with wings, flying foals conquering, pearlescent misty skies aloft, Pegasus. Stars falling to catch up, mystical companion to all who need height, Pegasus. Rise from temples, lanes sacred with snakes, mothering horses with wings, Pegasus. Queen of the shedding skin. Shed your skin raw with power to soothe violations. Take my pain, scalped in despair, to alleviate darkness, racked with abuse. Hiss manic beauty to heal purity. Use all your eyes, slither over corpses to conquer love lost. Okay. Then Medusa's temple is the temple of haunted chateaus. No, sorry, not shadows. What am I saying? Temple of haunted statues. Okay, now Medea. Medea, and then I think we're done. We've got, no, then the Morai. Okay. Priestess of the heartless, witch of poisons, daughter of magic. Let me read sorceress of sacrifices. Euphoric in your martyrdom, your sacrifice has not gone unnoticed. Success in complete histories, you own your casting circles. Dead magic streaks across the sky, shooting down to your deeds. Launch your lasting defenses against the crowds of conformity. Sharp focus on the battlement, directly appeasing the ones on the other end of magic. Wind around the illuminated, building dreams of all what might be left to sacrifice. Enchantress of magical aid, the daughter of magic. I love the daughter of magic. Let me read this one. Bestow your magics, aiding the failing winds. Conjure the spell, for you will never dim. Calculate the beating heart, radiating forth from your hands. Find what has been lost, your inner golden ram. Ooh, she's so good. Maiden of magnetism, mother of potions. Cure us of all ills, you mother of potions. Gather your ingredients, set it all in motion. Mix our essence in, stir your cauldron round. To you ever and always we're eternally bound. Grateful for your service, a vial is the prize. Drinking it down slowly, we shall all rise. Changing forms and dear, we patiently do wait. For your magic potions, you darling mother great. Oh, so good. Okay, I've gotta say this one. Okay, I've got to talk about this one. Now, if you know Medea and the story they're in, okay, Medea is the murderess. Okay. But that's one of the, I don't want to say that's one of the aspects that I work with her, but it's really been unlocking me to morality. She's been teaching me about morality. Okay. And that's all I'm going to say. But this poem is called Murderess, and I drew her with like her hand dripping blood, like your hands have blood on them. So she looking a little fierce there, okay, with the blood dripping off her hands. But, oops. They call you murderess, notorious desperation in your heart did so. Safety in melancholia lasts. Sins have been greater, for betrayal warped you. You held no mercy within the laws of misery. What? You held no mercy within the laws of misery. So good. Creature of cunning. Dragon charmer, because she did, charm some dragons in her time. Okay, now we're going to have to wrap this up. So I'm going to talk about the Morai. The Morai is the last chapter of the book before the archetype chapter that, like I said, had about 18 archetypes in the very back that didn't belong to one of the other ones. So I've got the Morai. Now the Morai are 3 ladies to me. So I kind of put them in their own little, So I've got the ladies of cut cords, the hags of lawless lots. Oh, yeah. I put like they're playing Yahtzee down there, like casting of the lots. The little Yahtzee cup down there. So funny. Yeah. I don't know why I did that. Hags of lawless lots, help those who know not. The fates be kind, the fates be cruel. Let decisions fall where they roll. Guide the hands that want to know which way the path will go. Helpless victims of neutral truths. Be ever vigilant in design's sleuth. Intermediaries, inevitable maidens. Yeah. Sorrows, waves. Okay. Yeah. Daughters of the loom. Ooh, this one's good. Okay. Oh, and I do have to talk. I have to remember to give y'all one of the ones from the Morai because the line in it is just too good. Daughters of the loom. Tethered to you, O daughters of the loom, by timeless placenta threads, soaked in afterbirths of everyone that came before me, standing on shoulders of those who needed me to make peace with life and death. Represent me in living decay, coiled by the ankle awakened to shadowed mirrored faces, the many tethers function, species molded in knots. Have mercy on the breaths, stitch the charms upon looms of universal wood. So good. Divine defining. And then we got the one of the weird sisters. Okay, where's the one about the string? Because I got to talk about that one. Yeah, here we go. The fearless clippers. Lachrymose, I stand unready at the gates waiting for the fearless clippers of destiny, cathartic at this manic precipice. Suppress wanton reveries of death with every emotion wreaking havoc on hearts not yet coddling. Distance from the keeper, laughing at my compliance, flying the keys on branches. Flawed and clawed, lurking, modestly eating my flesh, glued together with strings that were meant to be tied. Oh, okay. I don't even know how I came up with that, y'all. Listen to this. Modestly eating my flesh, okay? But I'm glued together with strings that were meant to be tied. What? That is just so powerful, Like here I am, I've got strings glued to me and they're meant to be tied. Huh. They at the spool. Initiate of life, you have but conjured me forth. Fundamental to essences, beware. The cold breath of death I am born with. They at the spool move with graces unbeknownst to us mortals. Ceaseless cruciality mates with me in your bringing fair uniqueness. Fragile longings await me in life's most daunting obstacles. Know my strengths be but a weaving away from destinations seek. Measure me a life worthy of vanities, rendering me vast dying entropies. I weave alongside the fates, measuring against the dying lights. Plate healing outcomes only for me, twist me some kindred beloves. Let justice be swift for decisions, pain left for me to blemish. Hold my fate high for me weeping at the hour of my death. The Morai are really powerful ones to work with, okay? They are powerful entities, these mistresses of memory, okay? Weavers of wild, seamstresses of destiny. And then we have their temple, which is the temple of twisted fate. Okay. Then we have the archetypes. Okay. Last chapter. We have the woman of the wasteland. Okay. We have the huntress of the cave, the wild woman, the healer of the horde, the unfettered fae. Okay. Let me read wild woman. Wild woman, wild one, looking to the moon and sun, hardly any worries, dancing on your wild journey. Nothing you will not confront, feral in your delicate thrusts, unfurling like petals, aging like wine. Nature is your shrine. Perfumed by the four seasons, adaptive to any region, chasing rainbows across the sky, iridescent wings need not apply. Relinquishing control, taking it back, giving conformity a swift whack. Whirling inside even when still, inside boundaries which you fulfill. Wild woman, honest and true, the spirit of your soul guides you. We're going to have the drummer of the battlefields. This one has actual drum beats in it. So, da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Steady beat prologue, rhythm for following ahead, marching towards victory, marching towards righteousness. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Sticks on drums as you roam. Excitement prickles along the skin. Dread threatens to overtake. A horn blows in the distance. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Crest a hill at sunrise. Red sky awaits the party. Ready for station formations. Replace drum for sword. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Charge. He's okay, Dylan? You have Lady of the Labyrinth, the Princess of Darkness, okay, the Captain of Coagulates. I've got to read y'all the Bone Woman, okay, because I wasn't going to put her in this book, but because I'm reading Women Who Run with the Wolves, it kind of felt right. She's the very last woman in this book. And like I said, I was going to leave her out, but I thought to myself, you know what? No, I'm not. Because I feel like she needed to be in here as part of the dark feminine. And, you know, La Loba, the Bone Woman, is such a powerful archetype that we see in the Women Who Run with the Wolves book. So I wrote her this poem, and she's just the very last one in the book. Okay. Hidden in the soul, buried all alone, collect the swag in deserts strown, sift the mountains, comb longings lost, find the bones at all costs, assemble the wolf, swirl the dust, heart beneath ribs, full-bellied and trust, sing over bones, still and sedate, words untroubled, deciphering the fates. Drumbeat steady, shaking sandy shores, with roaring cackle, pounce from the core. Magic in marrow, fangs in shadowed maw, flight from fire, landing on paws. Creature transformed, laughing as she runs. Wild woman awaken, never to be shunned. I was so proud of this freaking poem, y'all, because it's the bone woman's story. She's sifting the desert, finding the bones, okay, and then she's singing over them, and then it's a wolf that comes out of the fire, comes out of her song, and then there's running down the hill, and then the wild woman awakens. So it's all kind of it's her story in a poem. So okay. Now, to end this, because I know we've been on, oh my God, I've been on for so long, but I wanted to read one of the temples in case anyone wants to watch this back too and is curious about the temples. Now, a little information, because I kind of talked about it in the beginning, but each of the chapters has its own temple that kind of like a guided meditation, but not really. It's something that I visualized for each of these archetypes, and to be used as inspiration and however you want. Like, I've used them in many ways, but if y'all could, like, if y'all have a preference, like we could do Ereshkigal, Persephone, Lilith, Medusa, Medea, or we could do one of the primordials. We can go up to, Chaos. Nyx. What's Nyx's? Nyx is the Temple of Starshine, is her temple name. Tiamat's was really good too. Y'all have a preference? The one that I'm just going to give you one. Each chapter has one, but I'm not going to read them all. You want one of the primordial ones? Okay. We got Chaos. Chaos is, let me see. Chaos is temporal infinity. And then Tiamat's is the primordial waters. Okay, let me show you the drawing. This is Chaos, Temple of Temporal Infinity. And then you have Tiamat, Temple of Primordial Waters. So, either one, Dylan? Since you said primordials. Ooh, I didn't think about ever doing the temples on YouTube, but maybe I will. Okay. Okay, Tiamat's is kind of short, so we'll end with this. Okay, this is Tiamat's Temple of Primordial Waters. Awaken on the shores of creation. You are lying on hot sand. Hot, balmy waters ebb and flow on your feet. Nothing but void and galaxies in the skies overhead. The line of the horizon is the only earthly thing you see. You sit up on your knees and send out a soft prayer to Tiamat. You cup your hands in the water and it shimmers with magic. You stare reverently down into them. Lost in your watery reverie, you hear a splash nearby. You raise your gaze and notice the semblance of a tail descend into the depths. She's here, just under the surface. You feel her here, at the edge of it all, where it all began. We're ending it where it all began. It's actually pretty poignant. So, all right. Well, there was a look at the book. Did you like that? Did you like that, Dylan? Did you like that temple? Some of them are pretty in depth. Lilith was really nice. But yeah, I mean, after the book's been out a while, I might read some of them for the archetypes that I have. because I've got a couple more temples. They're like energetic temples. They're like visualizations, but they run on energy and magic. And so it's all kind of based on what you want to do inside of a ritual space. And for me, visualizing for instance Tiamat, visualizing this kind of like ocean shore where there's no one and nothing but sand, sea, and sky, and it's kind of like this vastness of space. Tiamat would live in the waters there where everything was birthed from. And it helps me to get into the like ritual mindset when I can visualize those places and feel the breeze and possibly the water and stuff like that. So thank you, Dylan. Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm so nervous to have it out, but also excited and really happy that I was able to like put it into a book. So, and more books coming. I'm writing one right now. The third synthesis series comes out next month. That finishes that synthesis oracle series. And then I've got a book like pretty much every Sabbath coming out next year. So lots going on with me. But I'm so happy to have the Dark Feminine poetry book out, for real. This is truly an offering. When I get off of here, I'm going to do some crossroads work for Hecate because it's Hecate's night. So I'm going to put this in my witchy space and like really do it up. So this is my offering to her tonight. So, ooh, I didn't know that. I think she's in D&D too. Or so my husband says, I think. But anyway, okay. Well, I'm going to get off. I've been on for so long. I got to go make sure that hubby put baby down. I'm sure he did, but thank you for coming. There for a while, I thought nobody would. So thank you too for coming and being with me tonight. It was pretty magical to talk about the book. So I really appreciate you guys so much. So yeah, so available on Amazon now. Probably after the live goes up on YouTube, I'll probably put the direct link under there. But you can always click my link tree and click on Amazon there, and it might send me to my Oracle books, but you can just click my author name and it'll pop up. So however you want, however you want to purchase it, or if you're going to wait, it doesn't matter. Like the link will be somewhere in my link tree down below in the description. So thank you so much. I hope y'all have a magical night, and I'll see you soon on the channel. Okay. Much love. See if I can end this the proper way. There we go.